What's up, everybody? This is Jarrett from Bowling for Soup.
Hey, this is Tommy Wiseau. How are you guys doing? Greg is here.
Hi, this is Frank Turner.
And I am Mega Ran.
And you are lucky enough to be listening to Upside Down Shark Radio.
Yeah, be upside down. Don't worry about it.
You guys are Mega 64 fans. I'll tell you guys a great story about Mega 64. And that's that when Jay and I were first starting back in 2006, we watched a lot of Mega 64 videos. And one of the big inspirations, and I don't think they got enough credit for this, but one of the big inspirations to us was the two videos in particular, the Shenmue video.
Oh, yeah.
Where he went around in California saying, like, excuse me, do you know anybody who speaks the language of Chinese? And they shot it from such a long way away, basically in the same format that we then wound up using, which is wireless microphones and long-distance shooting in public. And I don't even know how conscious we were of it, but that style, I don't know if those guys invented that. They didn't, but they made it seem so simple and approachable that I think it helped give us the confidence to be like, oh, we can shoot in public and do all these things because Mega 64 is doing it. The difference that what we were trying to get at was like, how can you do that narratively as opposed to just like basically a skit or a sketch that includes the public at large. But anyway, it was that Shenmue video and then the great Resident Evil shop.
Yeah, that's the first one I saw. That was great, yeah.
What are you buying? I think it was probably the first one that we saw too. And anyway, we loved those guys so much. Like just what they were doing was so interesting. And I find it amazing that they didn't ever move into a more mainstream or narrative space.
Well, it's hard. That's the hardest part.
I guess it is. Yeah.
That takes the most work.
Yeah. But those guys were very groundbreaking and a big inspiration on us. And I remember when we went to Comic-Con in Toronto, they have like a very small Comic-Con here called Fan Expo. And we went in 2007, I think, and I bought a Mega 64 DVD that they were selling. When we met them, Rocco, they were all there. And we met them and said hi, and we were like, oh, God, we love you guys. And I think at this point we might have had a DVD of the first 4 episodes of Nirvana the band that we put together on like a spray-painted, really shitty DVD, and we gave one to them. And their DVDs were awful, because when you see all of their stuff together, you're like, oh, this is so bad. Like, I'm not trying to say that they're not good, but you just realize that, like, for the things that they have that really hit, like they're really hit stuff, like the Marvel vs. Capcom 4 trailer, like the things that are like really, really incredible. They've done like 80 things that are just unwatchable, that are just like, so low effort garbage. But I think that that's a good style. And anyway, I really respect those guys. I think that they're obviously a big influence, and I like them a lot. I bring this up only because you have a Mega 64 poster behind you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've got the 3 seasons they did of their TV show, and yeah, I really like it. I mean, I know what you're saying about it. It's kind of cheesy and it's kind of lame, I guess, but I really like that aspect of it. It's just sort of homemade DIY show.
Lame. Yeah. Anyway, as I said, we're birds of a feather, that's for sure, and we took a lot of marching orders from those guys.
Hello everyone, we are Craig and Neale from Upside Down Shark, and today we are joined by Matt and Jay from Nirvana, the band, the show. The award-winning Sharkies 2018 Best Show 5?
No, I was just saying hi.
That's okay. Hi, yeah, that's the way.
Okay. But then I held it, my bad.
How are you handsome Canadians today?
Whoa, they starting things off on the right foot for sure. We're feeling good. Now we're feeling good. We got the H word out.
I've got a tea. You guys like tea, right?
Yeah.
Aren't you guys all like obsessed with it or something?
And we made our own poutine, so you can't see it because we've already chowed down on it, but it's definitely here.
Good for you guys. That's wonderful. That's excellent.
So for people that haven't caught it, Nirvana the band, the show, it's about 2 friends trying to get a show at a restaurant called the Rivoli. We won our Sharky Award for Best Show this year. Our first question is, how would you describe the show?
There must be an easier way than a pop culture-laden, Easter egg-ridden, off-the-cuff improv fun time involving 2 fun friends.
Yeah, it's actually one of the big challenges about the show, and I think especially from a marketing point of view, that when you hear about it, you're like, this show sounds ridiculous, and it's kind of ridiculous by design. It's basically about two friends who are extremely naive and basically trapped in Arrested Development. They're almost like 13-year-old boys who want to be musicians but don't quite understand that they're kind of too stupid to do anything, and all they want to do is play this one show. But in trying to get that one show, they're willing to do insane and unbelievable things, and it all takes place in the real world. But again, I don't think there's any description that really does the show justice, and I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I mean that it is very difficult to explain. You kind of just need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely in the same world as like the Ali G show or Summer Heights High or The Office, except you can imagine those things all kind of combined.
Summer Heights High, that's an unusual. Was that the Australian show?
Yes, it is, by
Yeah.
Chris Lilly, another big influence. We're big Chris Lilly fans. It's funny, the whole series of Summer Heights High I don't love, but that pilot I probably watched 20 times. Like 20 times. I think that guy's a genius, and that was a big influence. Just, you know what? It's the combination of a guy who is totally out of control with people who are completely sincere and real, and seeing what happens when you put those two things together. I think he did that expertly.
Did the staff at the Rivoli not recognise you yet, seeing as most of your episodes take place through them or by them or around the circumference of them? Or is that like sort of an audience thing? Like, we don't really know. Do they know you?
They know us. It changes, and they tolerate us, I think, is the way we've been answering that one.
And there's some turnover at that place. I mean, it is like a restaurant bar, and we've been shooting the show for so long that quite often we can tell when the staff on the patio know us by how they look at us as we're approaching from along Queen Street. And if they give a real like, oh no, oh my God, then we're like, okay, I think these people know. And if they don't react, we're like, all right, these people have no idea what our show is.
We try not to overstay our welcome, but sometimes they'll come out and they'll see us just on the patio or in front, and they'll just be like, are you guys about done here?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing? When you see us shoot the show, it never really looks like the show. There's a lot of magic tricks and
a lot of hanging around.
Yeah,
quite a lot of hanging. It
looks weird.
Actually.
So I'm kind of curious about how many people you have behind the camera at those points. Like when you're sort of shooting outside the Rivoli, how do you not get spotted?
Typically, every single shoot has about 60 people behind the camera.
The perfect lighting and everything.
Boom mics and
and our whole production team. It's actually
producers
the opposite.
Under a tent.
There's more people when we're shooting in the house. When we go to shoot in public, it's only the two cameras and then normally one, like Matt Grayson, our field producer, and then oftentimes Austin. Sort of.
If we're shooting with a lot of like people on the street, we have maybe some help that are chasing them down after they leave, and then have to get them to sign release. But otherwise, it's very, very like there's basically no crew. There's always less than 10, normally less than 7.
So after you film a scene, is it pretty much chase that person down for a release form, or is it a little bit more?
It depends.
Open than that?
If we need to,
it depends what they said. So if they did something that is, if we are shooting truly in public, and it's like on the street, and we shoot something with somebody that doesn't make them look bad and is like a sort of a natural interaction, then the tension to get them to sign a release is not really that high. But if they did something that was a little bit odd and maybe they could be upset about that appearing on TV, then we'll definitely try to get a release. But for the most part, we haven't had any problems with that ever.
So what about the hacker guy who wanted the lemons? What would that be construed as? Did you get his release or just let him flock into the wild?
Well, we did, yeah.
Ned was an
not Ned, the lemons guy.
Oh, God. We did get a release from him? Okay, yeah, never mind. He signed a release.
He spotted the cameras, as you can see.
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, that's one of those moments where that's a place in Toronto called Kensington Market, which is a little bit like Brick Lane, I guess, but not really. It's hard to explain what that place is like. And there's always those just a real cast of characters in there. And we knew that if we shot there long enough, there'd be some really interesting people that would just come up and tell us all kinds of conspiracy theories. And that guy is like the platonic ideal of what we were looking for. That guy was so funny. And he was so like relaxed and happy about it. I've seen him a few times since.
Yeah. I think all those people there, they all live in that zone.
They love it.
Community.
So you've been playing the character for the best part of a decade with the web show and everything. How much of the characters, or how much of you blends into the characters now? How much of it you like bleeds into the acting?
Has Jay ever taken speed? Has Matt ever gone partially blind? That sort of thing.
Oh, well, those are two different questions. I mean, like the events that, like, no, those aren't drawn from real life experiences. But I think that it's funny.
But all the content like GoldenEye or anything that we kind of explored to like do a parody of, or any sort of like video games, movies, these are all things usually that are like seriously influential to us,
especially when we were young. I think the way to think about it is like these characters are us trying to play the way that we were when we first met, when we were around 13, 14 years old. That's kind of where they're at. So the characters are us to a certain degree, except kind of behind the ignorance and naivety of being, a young boy. So we often try to play games with one another on set where we'll like let the real us, like the adult us, bleed into the character. And that's happening more and more, where Jay and I will try to imbalance one another by dropping the character and being ourselves for real.
Well, it could really switch things. Like, you mean like when, since it like you could say Jay's always the more grounded one and Matt's going crazy.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden I'll say something like really stupid and Matt will give me a look like, and start acting very mature about it.
Well,
in a nice
like,
grounded sense.
Well, it's a fun game to then all of a sudden, we do it all the time, where one of us will just stop pretending like we're 13 years old and turn back into an adult and be like, why would you say that? What are you talking about? It's very cruel. Because it's like an improv game where at any moment, one person can drop the mask and the other person has to keep going. Like, we have to keep going. So, you say something really offensive, or you say something that is like kind of beyond what is polite. And then if the other person decides, oh, I'm not playing that game, I'm now stepping outside of the show and being a real person, that can be really alienating and funny. Like, we do it all the time to one another.
I'm not sure whether it was really good editing, but in the episode B-Day, when you're singing, Everybody Needs a Bosom for a Pillow, there's one bit where Jay just stops,
just drops,
turns round just to say, like, have we gone too far? And then you just keep going.
And it just keeps going, yeah.
So, like, when do you think you've gone too far? Like, do you think challenging comedy is something that you strive to be? Is there a bar? How is censorship for Viceland and stuff like that?
I would say philosophically, we're both very anti-censorship, of course. Like, we think that, especially in comedy, I mean, again, think of it from the perspective of a young person and, like, the notion of the verboten. Like, what can't you say? Why can't you say it? What is off limits? What do you get in trouble with your parents for saying? Like, those are really almost primal ideas that, in my opinion, influence the behavior of young people in a major way. Because as a young person, you're always trying to figure out, okay, where's the safe zone? Where am I okay? And then where am I not okay? And these guys really are kind of ignorant of those lines, but also like to play with the idea of it quite a bit, because they're still in that mindset. So to answer the question of, well, you know what, I'll answer it from like basically a philosophical process of how we shoot the show. And that is that Jay and I try to push the boundaries with one another privately, like while we're shooting with just our four friends, as far as we can. So we try to push it and say the most crazy and unbelievable things.
But you got to remember, the reason why we're doing that is because we think that when you do achieve the jokes there that hit that little bullseye, they're the most intelligent and clever to us. Like, we just love successfully nailing that. So we keep, like, when we go into that zone, it's the genre that we just like, isn't it?
Of course. And the point is that, like, so there is a line, right? Obviously, there's a line of what is acceptable and what you can have on television. And we are always trying to figure out what that line is, even in terms of what these characters can say. And so what we do is we try to behave on all levels.
We go over the line.
We go way over the line, and we go way under the line, and we keep trying to play with this. And then in editing, which you had brought up, like, I don't know if this is just good editing or not. In editing, that's almost like our security blanket in a way, where we can go way over the line, but because it's not a live performance, and because we're in complete control of what's going to make it onto television, we can then be like, okay, this is too far. This is too far. Okay, but here we hit something, and this might be right at the place, right at the sweet spot.
Or even better, when you see our characters, and even truly us, look at the camera, look at each other like, is this?
Did we cross your line? Yeah, exactly.
And then you use that exact shot, and that's pretty much where we landed.
Because there is a real human element to that, and that is that we are all dealing with the notion of what is too far and what you can't say and what's impolite and what is like way not correct in terms of what you can say in polite society. And that is something that we're all experiencing all the time, whether it was in the 1980s, like whenever. That's a constant human endeavor to explore that space and to figure out where we fit. And these guys in our show is almost trying to make that into not a game, but it is a central idea of what drives these people, is trying to figure out where they can and can't be. And it's exploring it in a way that I think both Jay and I think is, very thrilling. Is that the word?
Getting into sort of more specific moments in the show, what's the closest you've been to being caught out in public doing, getting in trouble? This is, what we got there? There was the bit in the band list where you break something out of the museum.
That's the closest. We did get caught. Like that was real trouble. Like that you witness us actually get in huge trouble there.
We were unraveling the trouble we got in there for like a year.
For a year. We got in so much trouble for that it's the reason that you guys, it didn't affect the UK release of the show, but it delayed.
Oh, really?
So season 2 in Canada, we released 6 episodes.
So in Canada, while we were airing, it was doing a weekly television
every single week
time release. And then when this episode came up, because of the trouble we were in, it was
we pushed back two months.
2 months. 2 months.
So
delayed it.
Yeah, 2 months. It might have even been longer. It may have been 3 months. But so it's like episode 1 through 6 aired, and then actually episode 2 through 6. Well, it's very complicated. But then we were off the air. We were off the air for 3 months. While it was ridiculous. I mean, one day I'm sure we'll tell this entire story of how it all happened. But
it's still a little bit.
It may be a bit dicey. But yeah, we got in a lot of trouble, and we didn't
talk about it being worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was. I really don't know how you pulled that one off. Like, we don't really blurred the line.
It's crazy.
Well, the fact of the matter is, what we realized, and we've been shooting this show for so long, and we really do love it, and more than love it, we really love the process of making it, and we're always trying to figure out how we can push the process into new places to really do amazing things. And when we figured out that episode, we were like, oh, okay, this is kind of like what we should focus on doing, like this style of stuff. If for people who are listening who don't know what we're talking about, we broke into a museum. We were in a museum during operating hours, and we stole an exhibit. So we broke the glass and stole an exhibit and ran, and were chased by security and patrons who wanted the map back, and we escaped on the subway. But that idea of like, oh my God, how did we do that? Like us being baffled by it is like that's what we want all of our episodes to be doing at a certain level. Is challenging people.
It contains all the things that we love the most about what the show can do, like with character, with story, and with the sort of what did that guy say? Next level hijinks.
Yeah, but trying to find a way to make that amalgam work, where it's like, it's not just a prank, because these guys don't consider it a prank.
It's not a prank at all. It's integral to the story.
Yeah, it's like these guys aren't doing it. It's a difference between like us and like Tom Green or Sacha Baron Cohen, who both are big influences and we love a lot, obviously. But these guys don't think that they're disrupting the piece. And that is an essential part of their character. They're doing what they need to do to solve the mission that they're currently on. And so that interaction between like character-driven decision-making and the real world, like that that interplay is where we want to be all the time. And then what we love doing, which is what we did in that episode, is on top of all of that, like the clothes of it, is some type of pop culture parody. So it's like, how can we have character-driven decision-making that's motivating our story and making all the decisions make sense from a narrative point of view, combined with the actual real world, like the living, breathing world where it's total chaos and you never know what's going to happen, all presented as though, oh, this is just a parody of Indiana Jones. Like, because somehow that, to us, is the way, describes reality for young people in a very literal way, where you think you are the hero of your own story, and the things that you do have lasting worldwide implications in your own pathetic mind. Of course they do not. And there's no other way to do that than be like, okay, I'm in a movie, I'm in a TV show. My friend and I are the center of the universe in this small little story. And that's where we're always trying to be, right? I mean, I think it began, that parody thing that we do every episode, almost as like a joke. I don't even know why we started doing it when we were kids. Like, why did we start? Do you remember? Why did we make every episode a parody? We never talked about it. It just almost happened. And then, like, I think a lot of good ideas, we realized, oh, wait, this is actually emblematic of the way young people experience life, which is, I think, why, as a culture, we're also media obsessed anyway, because we wind up seeing ourselves on screen, whether we want to or not. Like, we see the power in the journey of these heroes and be like, okay, that can be me. That's me. And these guys are still stuck there, right? Like, that's who they are.
I'm not trying to blow smoke, but even if it's not even if the reference material you're parodying, I don't know, I still enjoy the episode a lot of the time. Is that just, you think you've nailed how to tell stories, or is that just a natural process a lot of the time, would you say?
Well, look, what you just said is absolutely brilliant. And that's that, like, story itself, like the idea of story and references to great pieces of art, which we believe we're constantly doing. Even things like hackers, like things that are considered hackers, yeah. Things that are considered trash by a lot of people, still have an essential, like, story nature to them. They still have something that you can't put your finger on it, but it has something, like, right? Like, there's just something powerful about that. And so how do I say this? It's like, yeah, even if you don't know the reference, you can still feel whatever is magic is animating these guys to really love that thing.
We talked about this a lot with watching The Simpsons when we were kids, and how The Simpsons always had parodies on them, and like 80% of them we wouldn't even know what they were referencing.
Like The Godfather, like we had no idea what that.
But it was very special, and they get parodied for a reason, because they just have a certain gravity in them, and
well, they deal with archetype in a way that we all understand, and they deal with character in a way that just human beings, you just naturally are like, oh, I get that guy. And also there's a certain, like, fun in pretending, like, oh, that's cool and I want to be like that. Oh, that's cool. And even though I don't know what the reference is, it's like, I want to know. I want that.
And it gets so far, like, this extends to just inside jokes in our show, to sometimes where we will act out an inside joke that we don't even know what it's from, but it just feels like an inside joke. And it just sort of adds to the, like, you're dropping in, like, to a world here that is existing with or without you.
And there's a clarity, especially between Jay and I, when we are dealing with something that, like an inside joke, or even a way of saying something where you can tell, like, even just in watching our behavior on screen, when we're looking at one another in a certain way and talking in a certain style, that we think we might be doing an inside joke, or we might be doing a reference to something, but we don't even know what it is. That changes the way we look at one another. It changes our faces. It gives a certain authenticity to our expressions that, I mean, sure, great actors could probably replicate that, but we can't. And there's a gravity to it. There's a real gravity to it. I think, and we get into bad loops too. One of the things that we do all the time now, I mean, we've been doing it for years, but it's pernicious in a way. We, like, imitate ourselves to one another all the time.
Is that where, like, the Halloween bit came from? Is you two?
Which one?
The one where you swap bodies for a little bit. Is that where it came from?
Yes, although believe it or not, that was one of the hardest things we've ever had to shoot.
That was really tough.
So
We shot
funny.
it. I think 3 times, and every single time. You know why? It was so impossible because we kept laughing, and it was almost embarrassing. I remember trying to do you and you trying to do me, and us just looking at one another, and like we were just smiling the whole time. It was actually really pathetic.
It was hard. It was just hard to do. Like, it was hard for me to talk at that speed without stammering, and it was hard for Matt to just shut the F up.
But also just
You took so much energy, like even in like a non-speaking role, like even his looks were so matte, and he just grabs you with a look, and you're just like, you got to tone that down if you're going to be Jay. He's way low key than that.
Right. Well, yeah, because I would get excited. Here's what happened. Here's what this over is that Jay's actually a much better performer than I am in terms of just, you know what I mean, like getting like nailing something, nailing an idea. He's very good at it. Incredible at impressions, incredible at creating an emotion. And so when he would do it, and we shoot 2 cameras, we don't shoot him and then me. We shoot us both at the same time because for obvious reasons. And I'm so invested as an individual in the outcome of what we're shooting, like way too invested. And so as soon as Jay starts doing well or he starts performing well, I'm gone. I'm like excited and like, yes, all right, yeah, we got it. And so how can I possibly be like him in these moments where I'm watching him killing and I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, like it was impossible. It was impossible. Well, I think we shot it 3 times. And every single time Kurt would, and then in the end, Kurt just came downstairs and was like, no, say this, say this, say this.
There's probably a lot of gems of just like one lines or little runs, but we had to kind of make a scene out of it. So you have to kind of use the stuff that creates the flow. But there's probably some, we dream about this all the time, all the B material and deleted scenes that we could eventually make into whatever the new DVD collection will be in the future.
And we'll put Mega 64's DVDs to shame. Do you guys have our original DVD? Probably not, eh?
No, never been released in this country. No.
It's a classic. It's one of the great, in my humble opinion, examples of DVD art.
No, it is. It absolutely
is. It really is. You guys should see it. Yeah. It was published in 2009, self-published.
To great acclaim.
Yeah, to great acclaim. To great acclaim.
Well, send one our way if it's that good.
There's none left. There's none left. They're all gone.
That's how good it was.
Yeah. I see above you as well. You've got a bunch of the dirties.
Yes.
The DVD covers. They're not in print anymore, I guess, are they?
No, those
they're
are
definitely
all
not available in the UK as well. Like,
there's a UK DVD.
There's a UK DVD that Pulse put out that is not. They
have some of our stuff.
Oh, really? They put it. Okay.
They worked with us on it.
So there's a UK DVD that was published by our distributor over there. It's not quite the same, but again, see, we used to be very into DVDs. Like, we're from the era when like mid 2000s, like when directors would put out really, really intense DVD box sets, would be like, oh my god, and using menus as art, like all that kind of stuff, we really, really liked. So we tried to have all the DVDs that we released be of a certain level. I think that's one of the sad things about streaming. I like streaming, and I like all like what it's doing, but there's no product, and I really love that. I love that, and I think
it's like getting a record.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's great to have access to both seasons on all 4 because it's a pretty big platform in the UK. So that's why we gave you the Sharky for season 2, because that's the way we got it. I don't think, from the sounds of it, we would get it any other way.
No.
What are the plans for next year? Have you got another movie coming out, or season 3?
Yeah, we're in the middle of. I mean, I don't know how much you know about what happened to Vice in Canada. I mean, you just mentioned it, so obviously you know some things, but they completely lost their television network in Canada, and that put a huge hamper on our production. We basically had to stop shooting almost a year ago, midway through season 3. So we're just kind of getting a handle on that again now, but it's so up in the air, we have no idea. So we are shooting. We've been shooting periodically, and we're hoping to finish whatever like our version of season 3 will look like sometime next year. And how that's going to be released or what we're going to do with it, we don't even know. But I can tell you the episodes are so far, well, I mean, we're very proud of them. We did a sneak preview in Toronto at a comedy festival of one of the episodes that we shot at Comic-Con. The Comic-Con that Toronto does, and we're very proud of it. But what the timing will be, we have no idea. And in terms of movies, yeah, we're it's sort of about to, we're in development on our next feature, which is hopefully going to shoot in 2019 at some time, but we don't know for sure.
Do you know how many episodes the next season will be?
It's not going to be a full 8. We know that for sure. It's probably going to be. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, mostly because we don't have a television network. That may change, but it'll be a shortened season. But I don't think it'll be less than 4 episodes. As of right now, we have about 2.5 shot.
Just a quick one about Matt does a really good impersonation of the British accent. A lot. He did it in
that's debatable.
There's the whole Mr. Doubtfire episode. Is it based on anything? Is it just a caricature?
Yes. Jay, it's actually based on the Australian character from Call of Duty named Soap.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Soap McTavish. Okay, yeah.
So Jay and I used to love listening to Soap when we were living together on Queen Street, and we had an idea for an app where Soap would talk you to sleep in a war zone. So like you put the app on and it's Soap telling you to relax and get some shut eye, and he's going to take the first watch. And it would be like, and in the background you'd hear like tanks going by, or like enemy soldiers, Germans, like Nazis talking, but like we're sleeping right in the enemy base, and it was a sleeping app. And we did so many impressions of that guy that's more or less who he's based on. But he turned into a total like joke. I think people don't know if he's Australian or British. I think I can't do accents to save my life. And that I felt safe because I was like, well, this isn't actually me doing an accent. This is stupid Matt trying to do an accent to fool Jay. And so I thought, okay, it's okay if it's awful and it's always changing and going back and forth. But I really love that character a lot. He's based in look anyway on Tony Erdmann from a German comedy movie. That's why he's called Tony.
Few quick ones and then we'll go. Don't want to take up much more of your time. Who's better Canadians, you two or Matt Stone and Trey Parker?
Who's better Canadians?
Yep.
I would say you two.
They're not. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are not Canadian.
They definitely are. Have you not seen them?
No, they're not Canadian.
They're Americans, man.
I did
wonder why you put that question in, but okay.
I wanted to go
those are hardcore American citizens.
Even if they were Canadian, we base our show in a Canadian city and don't make any like apologies about it. Like, it's not, we don't base our show in America. Like, even though everyone will tell you that you have to base your show in America.
Yeah.
They didn't fall for it.
Oh, we're proud Canadians.
That was the point, was it? Okay.
So we want, yeah.
What's harder, making a TV show or a web series?
TV show.
It depends.
Dude.
Oh, yeah, the hoops you have to jump through. I mean, we obviously have a much bigger team now, though. I would say it was way more work to do the web series because we were doing everything on our own.
Yeah, but like you would cram an edit in like a few days and then take a month break. Plus, there's no actual
clearances.
Well, clearances, but also the amount of time. You could make an episode 15 minutes, 22 minutes.
Yeah. I you know what? To be honest, I think that it is in some ways easier, some ways harder. Because here we have a big support network. Now it's our job, right? Like we don't have to do anything else. Whereas back then we had jobs. Like there is a way to look. There is a way to look at it where one is. We're older now. It's getting like a bit darker.
We should probably wrap this up
now. Okay. What's your favorite shark? As we are upside down shark.
Kevin O'Leary is my favorite shark.
Oh yeah, Kevin O'Leary.
Thank you, you two.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Genius. Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome, and thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, bye.
You guys.
Yeah, see you around.
Thanks
Goodbye.
a lot.
Okay, Miller, get rid of these guys.